Hello, welcome to Pride of London Fan TV. Ali here, bringing you my match review of the game between England and Scotland at Wembley, which of course finished 0-0. I was really looking forward to bringing some match reviews over the summer of England in the Euros. I thought it'd make a nice change from Palace. It all felt far too familiar. A midfield without a creative pass, a manager who made poor substitutions. It all actually felt very homely. But let's get into it. All the usual features, my man of the match and Gareth Southgate's rating. So we will start with Gareth Southgate's rating. I'm going to give him a 5. Now, before I get into this and the reasons why, I do want to say that I'm actually a big advocate of Gareth Southgate. I found some of the criticisms of him coming into the tournament quite strange, really. The criticisms of him playing two defensive midfielders, for example, bearing in mind that 3 years ago when we lost to Croatia in the semis of the World Cup, we were overrun in a midfield, and that was a midfield of Lingard and Ali with only the protection of Jordan Henderson. So I think he was right after that to make our midfield more compact. And he was vindicated in that in the first game against Croatia in this tournament. But what always worried me about Southgate was, did he or would he be able to flex it out a bit? Would he show flexibility? And that is where he came unstuck yesterday. He did not show flexibility in his approach. His in-game management was poor yesterday. I thought his substitutions and in-game management in the first game against Croatia, to be fair, was good. But when that was to protect the lead, when he really needed to change and flip a game on his head, he couldn't do it, just like he didn't 3 years ago in that semi-final against Croatia. The first thing, going back to his team selection, I found strange was the rotation of the fullbacks. I think Scotland were always going to sit in, so that makes it strange why he didn't play Trippier in this one, whereas he played him against Croatia, who have some talented wingers, but he didn't play Trippier in a game where his delivery and set pieces would be really, really important to try and find a way through a team who are always going to sit in banks or numbers behind the ball. So that was the first sort of thing that I found odd. And then you get to his in-game management. He did bring Jack Grealish on the hour. Loads of people in the nation clamouring for that. To be fair, I think Grealish found the same problems that Sterling and Foden found. And Kane, he found it hard to find a way through. But the substitution that I found pretty odd was taking Harry Kane off. I don't think, like many, Harry Kane has played well in the first 2 games. But when you need a goal, I'd keep him on the pitch. And I was watching the game actually with a Man United fan for all my sins. And he said, why not bring Rashford on the left so he could, form that partnership with Luke Shaw, their club partnership where they're familiar with each other. And taking Kane off and replacing him with Rashford, I mean, that's not addressing the problem. The problem was we couldn't find a way to get the ball up to Harry Kane, to the striker. So bringing Rashford on deeper would have made much more sense for me on the left-hand side alongside his club mate Luke Shaw. And then there's the fact he kept Sterling on for the 90 minutes. Sancho wasn't brought on. Sancho, by the way, in his time at Borussia Dortmund, in 137 games at Dortmund, he has scored 114 goals or assists in 137 games. And I know there's many, many German pundits, journalists, football fans who are scratching their head at that one, and also no Bellingham either yet as well. So I found his in-game management to be very, very poor yesterday. And that's why Gareth Southgate, for me, gets a 5. However, what I will say is he still very much has my backings. I've seen things like Southgate out, written by some on social media, some content creators leading with that as their headline. I think that's very, very poor. It's one of the things that frustrates me following England is the hysteria around it. We beat Czech Republic and we get 7 points and we win the group. And I think Gareth Southgate has enough in the bank to from the previous World Cup to deserve our backing. And I think get behind him and the players now. And hopefully on Tuesday, they can start turning this around. And I actually think it might do us a favour. I think it might force Gareth's hand now to play Jack Grealish. I do find Jack Grealish treatment, not just by Gareth Southgate, but certain fans, when you see on social media some of the things written about Grealish, I think there's a history in English football of us not appreciating flair maverick players like Grealish. If we look back over the years, Glenn Hoddle was underused by England managers. And it did feel, I do feel like Southgate doesn't quite trust Jack Grealish. In the lead up to the tournament, he was sort of felt like his hand was being forced to play him. It almost felt like Jack Grealish had to go back in time to Euro 96 and force the ball at Gareth Southgate's penalty into the net against Germany for Gareth to give him a game. But it isn't just Southgate. I think sometimes I read things on social media, fans saying, writing vile things about Grealish, really, to be honest. And I think in other countries, this type of player is much more appreciated. Flair and Maverick players are more appreciated, and they're played. But let's just remember, one thing I'd say about Southgate, and he showed this in the World Cup, is he's very tournament savvy. You think back, for example, to finding a way past Colombia in that tough game with the hostile atmosphere and the penalty shootout. He's very tournament savvy. He's got the experience of not just of Euro 96, by the way, but France 98. And people forget Michael Owen didn't start France 98. It was Teddy Sheringham, and he was phased into the tournament. And I just wonder, perhaps, is he doing that with Jack Grealish, phasing him in and then unleashing him for the knockout rounds? Let's hope so, because I think we do need Jack Grealish in there. He's a different type of player, and he gives us a bit of unpredictability that I think we need in our play. But let's get behind Southgate. Let's get behind the team for Tuesday, and hopefully Gareth can turn this around. And worth remembering that we are on 4 points, so not the end of the world. Although Scotland, to be fair, Scotland did celebrate like they won the World Cup final, but to be fair to them, they set up really, really well. They played really well, and you could argue if anyone deserved to win it in the second half, it was them. I've always thought Steve Clarke did a sound job wherever he went as well, and he tactically absolutely nailed it yesterday. So fair play to Scotland. They really did frustrate England, and they got at least what they deserved in a draw. Man of the match for me, I'm going to go for Jordan Pickford. A lot of fans saying that he shouldn't be England #1. Lots of doubts around him, myself included, in the lead up to the tournament. But you can't argue with 2 clean sheets in 2 games. And okay, you might say he hasn't come across really fantastic opposition yet, but fair play to him, and long may that continue for stepping up as he has so far. Not a lot to pick from beyond that. Who would your man of the match be? Let me know in the comments below. What did you think of the performance? What did you think of Southgate's tactics? What would you change for the game against Czech Republic coming up? As always, let me know in the comment section. And if you've liked this video, please press that subscribe button.